All right, we are recording. Hi, guys. Happy November. Nice to see so many faces on here. I wanted to give Katie a little introduction and kind of tell you guys how this came about because she probably doesn't even know. Some backgrounds. So I actually went to a Super Saturday in Tampa in 2015. Like before I was making anything in Beachbody, I was like 4 months into coaching, wasn't diamond, nothing. I just wanted to go because Carl and Autumn were there. And that's the first time I met Katie. She probably doesn't remember because there was like 800 people there. But it's just proof that you guys got to get to events because you never know who you're going to connect with. And then Katie came to Atlanta last summer and I got to spend some time with her, and I've been like bugging her for so long. I'm like, I'm going to get her on a call. So it's awesome to finally have her on. I've watched her from afar, and I always think that it's important to have somebody in this business that you really look to and you see them doing things that you want to go after and study their craft and use them as your mentor, even if you aren't talking to them every day, because she doesn't know, but she's been that for me for 2 years. So it's such an honor to have her on this call. I hope you guys brought some notebooks and pens because I'm sure she's going to have a lot of great info to share. So thank you so much for hopping on at a tough time of year. We really appreciate it, and take it away.
Yay. Well, what an amazing introduction. I'm so happy to be here. And I love Zoom because I get to see everyone's face. And I know that we might be in different time zones and like craziness going on, but it is so cool to connect. And that is what I love about the events. You know, you get to meet people and build that rapport so that you can ask them to, swap calls with you or get on. So thank you for having me. I don't want to say I'm like an over-preparer when it comes to team calls sometimes. And in thinking about this call, I actually want to be a little bit more candid with you guys. So I didn't prepare, this. Normally I'm like, okay, here's your outline and the bullet points and all of that. But since it is November and life is crazy, I don't want to give you guys a lot of things that you feel like you have to do. I really wanted to boil it down to the basics. And I feel like I'm very qualified to speak on coaching and success of coaching because I blundered through my first year as a coach. My first 6 months, it was such a tough journey. And I'm going to share a little bit about my story. But basically, my sponsor coach is Lindsay Matway, and she's stunning and amazing and articulate. And, when you come into this anything that you start new, a new sport, a new business, a new job, you really don't know what you're doing. So then you look for reasons why somebody else is successful. Oh, they're so pretty, or they have this, or they have that, or, and instead of looking at, well, what am I naturally good at? What are the things that I bring to the table? It's really easy to slip into that excuse mode where you're like, well, I'm not successful because I don't have this traumatic backstory, or I'm not successful because I have this traumatic backstory. So I really want to encourage you guys to figure out what those things are that make you you. And so I just want to talk about my success as a coach for one moment because I think you guys will appreciate this and find this funny. So my first 6 weeks as a coach, I made exactly $0. So it took me 6 weeks to finally convince one person to buy Brazil butt lift. And I forget what the commission on that is. It's like very meager. It's not very much. And then I just continued to plug away for 3 months because at the time I felt like I personally needed to have a transformation because I was so sick of being, when people say I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like just kind of whatever I was doing in my life was not working. I was miserable. I was 20 pounds overweight. I was stressed out all the time. So I was so desperate to have a transformation that I actually posted my day zero, ground level zero pictures on YouTube. And I said, check back in 30 days to see results. And I felt like it wasn't scary. It wasn't as scary as posting it on my Facebook page, but still to put like, here's where I'm at with no trending success. It was like very scary. And it was actually this time of year or I'm sorry, day 60 for P90X for me was like right around Thanksgiving Day. And it's so interesting to think back, because at the time when you don't know what you're doing, but you're just kind of taking these little steps, I feel like I was guided, because little things would happen that would encourage me to keep going. So around day 30, I actually had somebody email me and say, hey, like, I noticed that you said to check back, like, where are your pictures? And it was right around the time I was posting them. So I was like, oh my gosh, anybody saw this, that's a miracle. And the fact that they wanted to like see an update, I thought was really cool. And then around day 60, since it was Thanksgiving, I was a little bit late posting my next updated video, and I had 2 people message me. So even though at the time in my real life, people were saying, oh, what is this stupid P90 scam that you're doing, and Shakeology, like really giving me a hard time about it, on the digital front, I actually had a couple people, not a lot, just a couple people here and there encouraging me and kind of giving me that pat on the back that I needed to keep going. And I think that is so crucial to, instead of looking at all the things that are going wrong and all the setbacks and all the people telling you that you can't do it, looking for those little moments that encourage you and kind of whisper, keep going, keep going. And then, you know, here I am 5 years later, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I couldn't even have dreamed up the life that I have now, you know, being a full-time coach, being able to stay home with my dogs, and to pay off my house and to have no debt. It's like, from where I was 5 years ago, it's just not even comprehensible how it all happened. But my first 6 months as a coach, I actually did some calculations to figure out how much money I earned in those 6 months. And I was getting on every team call, doing personal development, doing my workouts. I had a pretty decent transformation. I mean, I lost right around 20 pounds. So for me, that was like awesome. But after putting in all this work and really trying my absolute hardest, I was making or averaged about 73 cents an hour based on the hours that I put in. And most people would look at that number and say, okay, 73 cents an hour, you could literally go to McDonald's and make more and make have more productive use of your time. And it was, you know, like that question in my head of, is this worth it? You know, I was working a second job. I was trying to get my real estate license, which I ended up getting, and then completely doing nothing with, because then I saw, just like I said, those like little instances of hope kept happening. And I said, okay, well, why am I going to pursue real estate when I have this incredible thing right in front of me? So I need to figure out how to use this. And I know that you had mentioned that you kind of wanted me to talk about, you know, balance and like trying to figure it all out, how to fit everything in your day. So I kind of wanted to share what I was doing at the time, and hopefully it helps. And I think the main thing, anytime you listen to any team call or the National Wake Up Call, that you don't have to take everything from that call. You take little nuggets, like, this is going to work for me in my life and my situation, and that maybe not so much. So I hope that I can at least give you a golden nugget that you can use. But, you know, in thinking about where I wanted to go with this, really it was just having that long-term dream. I had no idea if this was going to work, but I knew that the one thing that I could control is what I'm going to do with it. And that meant trying my darndest. So at the time, I was actually a retail manager. And does anyone work retail or like work a schedule like that, like nursing? I don't want to compare retail to nursing because I know like you guys work way harder, but it is hard to have a schedule that's kind of up in the air, and you're, you know, you don't, like, I would come home at midnight and then have to wake up at like 5 a.m. to get back at work the next day if I wanted to do my workout. So it was all over the place, crazy. So at the time, I think I had started to make maybe like $200 a week, if that. And I made a pretty bold move, and I decided to leave that job and take a job at a porta potty company, which was awesome, by the way. So I worked from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And even though I took a huge, huge, huge pay cut, that stability enabled me to work my job. So that was something, since, you know, I don't have kids, that was something I could decide for myself, you know, X amount of dollars to pay my mortgage and pay my bills. And I just will not be doing anything extra, like no fun for me. So having that schedule, that was a huge decision that I feel like really helped put me on the trajectory of being able to have success with this. So I would wake up every day at 5:45, and I was actually in a, I don't know if you guys know, Nikki Mittens under me, and Nikki Mittens signed up Melanie Mitro. So at the time when we were like trying to build this, we were like the three musketeers, like, and that I think is such a key element in all of our success, is to have each other. So, you know, everyone on this call, you know, finding one or two people that you connect with, and then having that accountability. And we're kind of competitive. So that 5:45 a.m. text, it was like, oh my gosh, I got to wake up and be the first person to say I'm doing my workout and get that in just because that's how we are. That's not going to work for everybody. But, you know, maybe your accountability is more gentle than trying to race each other to your mini workout space. So that was key, again, to get the workout in first thing, because having a transformation, if you go 6 months, a year, and you have no changes in your body, in your mood, in your mind, in your health, anything, then it's really difficult for people to see why they should join you. However, if you are so excited about this and you share your vision of where you're going with it, maybe you don't have results yet, like I didn't, but I shared where I was going with it, and then day by day they see you consistently plugging away, and then, you know, you could have results in 3 days with the 3-day refresh. But I'm talking about long-term results that get you those people that are going to really connect with you and follow your story, and then eventually fall in love with the product and then join your team. You really have to think about, okay, this is crucial. You know, they say the 3 vital behaviors. I feel like it's one of those, you know, like if you say a word so often that it no longer sounds like the word, it's like, how do you say computer? And then it just starts to sound weird. I feel like that's the 3 vital behaviors. We say it so much that it just loses the meaning behind it. So being proof the product works, that was number one for me, to at least feel like, okay, I'm doing the most important thing for me personally, for my health, my fitness, and then everything else trickles from that, because then you're energized and you're excited and you're happy and you're proud of yourself. So then listening to the personal development, you're like, oh yeah, like you want to soak it all in. So from there, going back to what my main topic was, I'm sorry. This is what happens when I don't have notes. I kind of jump around. I just want to share everything with you guys. But structuring my day, you know, figuring out how do I fit in, what are the most important things for me to fit in my day. And it was getting my workout in, and then I would go to work 15 minutes early and I would write a blog post. And not everyone has to have a blog, but I personally feel, and I teach my coaches, that you have one main social media outlet that you use so people can see you in real time, but then you want to start building something Googleable. So for me, that's my blog. For you, it could be YouTube. And even Instagram, while it's not necessarily Googleable, people can find you over time through hashtags. So with my blog, I had this idea that even if I was on vacation, even if it was the weekend and I wanted to take off, even if it was 5 years from now, somebody could Google something and land on my blog, and my blog can answer a question that they had. So actually this week, somebody had just wrote me an email about doing the ultimate reset from a blog post I wrote in 2013. So 3 years ago when I sat down to write this post, you know, you hope one day that it's going to help somebody, but you never know. And in the beginning, when you're building something like a blog or your YouTube channel, it's so insignificant feeling of just your one little video or your one blog post, but you can't even comprehend how that ripple effect will grow and how somebody down the line will eventually find it. So it was so funny because in the email she sent me about the ultimate reset, she was like, oh, I see that you're still doing Beachbody, and I see, you know, you haven't talked about the ultimate reset in a while. Is that something you still recommend? So being able to show somebody longevity, like she trusted me enough because she sees that I'm still doing it, to then be able to reach out to me. But at the time when you're a newer coach, you're kind of thinking, oh, well, I want the customers now. So that's where your social media and inviting people come in as well. So it's kind of like that dual attack on, you know, what you want to do, and to be able to share and bring new eyeballs to you, new people to you. But I just knew, even though at the time when I was working at the porta potty company, that my blog posts were not getting nobody was contacting me, nobody was writing me, but that was just my commitment to myself. Monday through Friday, I was going to make a new blog post come hell or high water. And it could have been just a paragraph about my workout, or it could have been something like, what equipment do you need for P90X? Or what do you do if you need to take a sick day? Do you jump back in? Do you restart the schedule? Things like that. And I would just get something up was the main thing. And one of my favorite quotes is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, but it goes like, the amount of time it takes you to do something is the amount of time that you have. So when I think about packing for a trip, if I have a week to pack for vacation, I'm going to take the whole week to pack and then put things in and take things out and do all that. But if I have 15 minutes to get ready to go on a trip, you better believe I can throw stuff in a bag in 15 minutes and just get it done and be on my merry little way. So I always use that concept with my blog post or social media. If you have all day to do something, you're going to procrastinate, you're going to overthink it, you're going to write it and then rewrite it. But if you give yourself that time where you set like a 30-minute timer and say, I've got to get this done, then trust me, you will get it done. And you need to adopt the motto, like, done is better than perfect. For all the perfectionists out there, it's like, honestly, just get it out there. It doesn't have to look completely beautiful. Like, yes, it's nice when things are beautiful and proofread, but if you're so worried about perfection that you never actually post your blog post, it's saved as a draft that you're constantly revising, then nobody's ever going to see it. So you just have to cozy up with the fact that it's just not going to be perfect. But then from there, so I would work out, do my blog post, and then from there, I actually had to work at my job. But then on lunch break, I would use that time to do my invites. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, like, what I'm telling you, the activities that I was doing, no extras. It was like bare bones. What do I need to do to earn money? What are the business building activities? And that's being proof the product works, getting my message out there, and then talking to people and inviting them and forming those relationships. So then from the rest of the day, it's kind of like filling in those cracks of time, responding to a message, posting on social media. And then when I would get home at the end of the night, it was about getting on team calls and more like the personal development side of things. And then I would go to bed probably at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, so I could get up at 5:45 and do it over again. But the important thing to remember, I don't feel like, maybe you have kids, maybe you have other things that you want to do. I personally got rid of TV. I cut out all the extras because I was so desperate to get out of the financial situation that I was in and the job that I was in. And I really just wanted to get to that next level. So I was willing to make those sacrifices. But for other people, you might say, okay, well, this is more like, I just want to make a couple $100s a week and I'm just really passionate about it, but not passionate enough to stop watching Scandal or whatever is on TV now. So you can make that determination for yourself. But for me, it was like, okay, bare bones, what do I have to do to get there? And how can I make it happen? And then from there, you can start doing all the really fun stuff. Once you nail down those specifics, the 3 vital behaviors, then you can start saying, okay, how can I craft my story and how can I infuse my passions into that instead of just, here are my results. And that's, I feel like, where I'm passionate about just sharing. I'm passionate about, if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see that I'm obsessed with my dogs. And I just think it's the coolest thing ever that I have a business where I can share that and people buy from me because I share that, because we form a connection over a love of animals. And, it just goes from there, like building the relationship. But does that make sense to everybody so far? I know I've kind of skipped around a little bit. But I think one of the coolest things is when you do focus on your transformation, if anyone's doing core to force and kind of creating their own test group feel out of that, to just be able to honestly share the things that help you. So I think launches are so successful because nobody has done it yet. So there's that element of excitement, but also the fact that you're kind of the first person to think of ways to make it easier. I remember when the Ultimate Reset came out, it was like, okay, I did it twice actually because I was in a row. I ended up doing it 3 times total, but because I was obsessed with how can I make this, even though they lay out the meal plan, it's just like core to force, they lay out a meal plan for you, but it's like, how can I make this easy to understand for people? And then when you share that, people are like, oh, okay, and they like you. They like the way that you're presenting the information, so they end up going with you. So I just think that's awesome how that works. But I just noticed the time. So do you guys have any questions, or do you want me to just keep sharing? I know it's like nobody ever likes to be put on the spot with questions.
Don't be bashful, guys.
Are there like diamonds on the call, emeralds, new coaches? Like who?
I think we have a big mix. We have a few that are like pushing for diamond right now. But everybody, okay, you have a question. Did you end up getting a lot more followers through the blog?
Oh my gosh. But see, okay, yes. But it took 8 months before I felt like it was doing anything. So 8 months of blogging before I felt like I had anything. But right now, 5 years later, primarily most of my people find me. If you ask all my diamond coaches, I think all but 2 have found me through my blog. But I also like writing. So you just have to figure out for you, because if you don't like writing, you'll end up dreading it, and then it becomes that thing. But I like it. So some people are good at videos or Instagram. I don't like Instagram, but that's why I don't do it. Yay, brand new coaches. I love brand new coaches because it's like the initial butterflies and excitement are still very new. But for a coach starting out, so many things. I mean, and that's the thing, like, don't let yourself get overwhelmed. But I think if you can root yourself in the passion of what you're doing first. So, they always say, figure out your why, figure out why you're doing this. For some people, they're obsessed with fitness. I wasn't obsessed with fitness, but I was obsessed with freedom. So the idea of being able to make my own schedule and do arts and crafts, and I love home decor, and just figuring those things out, like what made me excited about the business. I love getting emails from people, oh my gosh, that say like when they get their results. That's my favorite thing. So those are the things that drive me. So since I've figured that out, that's where I put my focus. And then it makes me love the business over time, because you'll find like longevity is another thing you have to think about. It is normal. You're not going to be in love with Beachbody every second of every day. You're not going to be in love with fitness every second of every day. So you have to figure out ways to keep you going, keep the ball rolling, and then the momentum builds eventually. And then you don't have to struggle as much to figure it out. But the other thing is safeguarding yourself against naysayers and doubt. So personal development and doing things that fuel your confidence, to be able to say confidently to somebody, that's okay that you don't like Shakeology. Honestly, it does not hurt my feelings if you buy it or you don't buy it. But in the beginning, I was very nervous to talk about it. And so if anybody would say that's a scam or that's garbage, or whatever people would say, it honestly kind of made me go into my turtle shell, because I was like, I don't know how to react to this. But now I'm like, oh well, that's simply not true, but that's okay that you feel that way. So does that make sense? Okay, cool.
I have a question. Can you speak to like a moment in your business where you kind of felt defeated and how you pushed through that, or struggle you had?
I was actually just telling somebody the other day, so when you're a star diamond, or to get to the next star, your diamond has to hold rank for 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, then you go up a star. So I was in qualification for 8-star diamond, and it was the 6th week. So I like made it to the end of the tunnel. And I woke up the next morning expecting to be 8-star, but I actually woke up to be 4-star because my brother made a return on his account. So it knocked, anyway, long story short, I cried for a whole day. And I think I don't know, realized that it's like, okay, is this am I really going to let this one thing, even though it was to me a big thing, like a thing I had worked so hard for and looked so much forward to or whatever. But was I really going to let that derail me and say, oh no, I'm not going to earn $1 million with Beachbody just because, it's like, for me, I always visualize the scales of justice. So on the one side, you put the crappy thing, and then on the other side you put all the good stuff, and it's like, okay, you know, wipe these tears. But I do the same thing with like anytime as a newer coach, I would start to feel scared or doubtful. I would say, is the fear of this more important than the ultimate goal, which is to have complete freedom? No, then it seems trivial. So that's at least, but I think it's important to understand your personality type. I read a book called Personality Plus by Florence something. I can never say her last name. And then Danny Johnson has another book called First Steps to Wealth, and she talks about gems. And just reading Personality Plus, really, it was the one for me that I kind of understood why I'm the way that I am. I understood why my family is the way that they are. And then you can work better around other people or yourself, especially if you're building a team. You know how to speak to people. So I know that I can be, I don't want to say I'm not mostly competitive, because I'm really not that competitive, but I know that I can come across as emotionless, because sometimes I'm like, just get to the point. So I know that I need to be a little bit more cautious and like go a little bit slower with some people. But yeah, I cannot recommend that book highly enough if you need to know like how to work with other people or to understand your family, because it's like, oh, I see why. But I think like this business is really easy to overcomplicate it, and it's really easy to look at the shiny object. Oh, so-and-so is doing Instagram. Oh, so-and-so has a blog. Oh, so-and-so, you know, it's like, try some things out. Definitely experiment. Absolutely. But find your sweet spot and then stay there and continue to learn it and grow, you know, in whatever that looks like. So it's like, figure out what's working, do more of that. When you figure out something that's not working, just stop doing that. And then you just repeat the cycle. And then over time you find that you kind of get into a groove. But the important thing is to take action and not to wait to have things figured out before you do it. You just have to kind of dive in. I always say, jump and build your wings on the way down, because you're not going to learn anything if you're just stuck in a pattern of, you know, fear, where you're like, well, I don't know if they're going to want to do this, or what if they tell me no, or what if they think I just want money from them? It's like, you know, I think back to why I signed up. If Lindsay hadn't asked me to be a coach or talked to me about that, and you know, I'd be pretty upset right now. I'd be like, I'm still stuck in my crappy job. What the heck? So I think passion plays a huge part of it, figuring out what you like to do. And that's the cool thing about this business. It's not like one size fits all. It really is like so many different personalities and perspectives can come in and bring value. So are there any other questions? I love questions.
You see no else?
The best thing you did for your new coaches to help them learn this business. The best thing I did for my new coaches, honestly, is leading by example. I actually, oh my gosh, I've done so many things. I created binders for them, and I felt like I walked them, held their hand and walked them through their training, and did weekly calls and check-ins and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like I was making it way too complicated. You know, if I buy Core de Force, my coaches buy Core de Force. If I'm posting my pictures of doing it, my coaches are posting pictures of them doing it. If I'm not doing those things, they don't do those things. You know, I look at my own experience. I looked back on conversations with Lindsay and how she explained Shakeology to me, and realized that that was how I was explaining it to my people, you know, my customers. And I looked at how, you know, she did things, and then I realized that I emulated that. And then I realized that when she was reading personal development, it inspired me to read personal development. So I really do believe it is like a follow the leader situation. And, you know, even now she's my best friend, and like we hang out all the time. And I've noticed that when she's doing things like in her business, that it makes me want to do it. So it is like you inspire through action. If she were to just tell me what to do, then, you know, kind of loses its luster. It's like, oh, okay. You know, because you do subconsciously think, oh, well, if my coach isn't getting on the national wake-up call, it probably isn't that important. But if they are, then they get on. So I would just say, like, really check check yourself and make sure that you're following through on the things that you want them to do. And that's the craziest thing about it. You could be a 15-star diamond and you're still doing the same activities. You're still inviting, adding people, sharing your journey, doing personal development. So I don't want to sound like a broken record when I say that, because I don't want it to like lose its spark. But it really, I love that they boiled it down to those three, because when I started, there was not really any training, but they did have this 10, it's called the game plan checklist, and it was like 10 things, and it was like, oh my God. It was like a lot of just like extra stuff, you know? So especially if you're working and you have a family, you know, be intentional with your time, so that if you're working on your business, you're working on your business. If you're with your family, you're with your family, so that you don't feel that pull where you're, you know, with your kid and then you're texting somebody back. It's like, nobody wants to do that. If you literally just create that intentional time pocket, then you can feel like a human being and you're not a Beachbody robot. I think that's another important thing, you know, especially going to holiday. Yeah, of course, at your family Thanksgiving dinner, you're allowed to share what you're doing and be excited about it. But you're also not like a Beachbody infomercial. Like, you're a human being, so you're allowed to have different interests. And then when you do talk about it, it is more exciting and people are more ready to listen because you're being in the moment with what you're doing. So I think it's great to talk about Beachbody, and I'm obsessed with it. But I've learned that I am more effective when I do get that time to just be a dog mom and to just be a girlfriend and to just be a friend. And then, yeah, I love to be a Beachbody coach too.
All right, I have another question. And if you guys have any, type them in the chat. Okay, Noelle said, what was it like when you walked across the stage being recognized for the Millionaires Club?
Oh my God, you guys. Oh my
I remember when she shredded her mortgage too last
That was, I think, the
awesome.
biggest one for me was the mortgage, because that was such a big, long goal that took a while. But I think anytime, it like makes me kind of tear up, because anytime you get recognized on stage for anything, all you are thinking about is your team and how, I get goosebumps, how they helped you get there and how you just so desperately want them to be on stage one day. And it is cool because Nikki is part of Millionaires Club. She's my only coach. And then, of course, Melanie. But it is so cool to see that happen. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, feels like a fairy tale. And then, you know, into that, it's just like being able to help my family, being able to give back, you know, like we're really, really passionate about being responsible with the money and to use it for good. So being able to like, there's a local animal shelter that I used to volunteer at. I kind of stepped away from that, but I'm still able to like help them rebuild their facility and help animals. And, you know, it's so much bigger than Beachbody. And it just reminds me of Barbie Decker. One time she said, because I hear this all the time. Actually, Nikki said this to me. I don't want to make any money. I just want to help people. And I think that is such a valid thing to feel. And that's amazing that people are like that have such a big heart. But she said, what if Carl Deichler had said that? And he wouldn't have built this business, which we wouldn't have this platform to be able to do what we do. And I thought that was so like mind blowing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Because it really is thinking about, you know, bigger than you. Once you hit a goal in your business, if your goal is 10-star or 15-star, whatever, once you hit that, then it's like, now what? And it becomes about the people around you. It's exciting, of course, for yourself. Obviously, it's like, oh my gosh, amazing. But then it becomes so much bigger than you. So I think that's just, I can't wait. I mean, I hope, are you aiming for a million club? That's awesome. Okay. And honestly, the coolest part about that is once you build your momentum, then it's not like as a new coach, I really hustled. But now it's like the machine is, you know, I have all these blog posts, I have my YouTube built up. So it's hitting Success Club. I'm coming up this month will be 60 months consecutive of Success Club. And I was thinking about how freaking crazy, like just hit Success Club, guys, hit Success Club 5 every month and you'll be a millionaire. like in 5 years.
Pretty awesome. Katie, I was going to ask, what was the time when you felt like you had like a lot of outside obstacles or things pulling you away from your business? How did you check yourself and keep going?
Well, I think in the beginning was probably the hardest. My first like 2 years were probably the hardest to manage that. Just because you have so many things at the time. I'm trying to remember how old I was. I had to be like 25. How old am I now? Anyway, however old I was, it was still very big in my culture of friends to drink. And I've never really been a drinker, but there would be situations like that where I was getting pulled to do things that were not only taking time away, but then it's like, this is exactly opposite of what I'm trying to do. And I think the hardest thing is kind of setting that policy in your life for, okay, I'm trying to better myself. This is what I'm doing. And I had to be very firm. And to be completely honest, there was a bit of a friend cleanse for the people that weren't ready to either join me or at least support me or at least not be mad at me for trying to pursue something better. So that was like a really tough time as far as like trying to juggle it all. But I think, you know, going back to that idea of freedom, I just had this vision of, not that I ever had an alarm clock, which is kind of funny, but I would set my phone alarm, and I just had this vision of throwing away my alarm clock, AKA never having to set it again. And that vision was way more important to me than going to bacon night, which is something I actually used to do, by the way, every Tuesday. And then going out with friends or going to dinner or like all these extracurriculars or even watching TV. It became trivial versus having that complete freedom, like in my head. And then the other difficult time as far as like really having to sit down and kind of discipline myself was when I became a full-time coach. I quit my job. I bought a one-way ticket to California because that was my dream. And started living in California, and just to kind of figure that out, like what a full-time coach does and what that looks like, because I was spending a lot of time on the beach and kind of more in vacation mode. And then I had to really say to myself, okay, if you want to maintain this, like there has to be some element of discipline and, you know, and that goes all back to like personal development and having those accountability partners. I had accountability partners in my business that really helped me. And I recognized that that was something I needed to do and said that to them. And they really helped me kind of pull myself together. So it wasn't just me, you know, it was definitely kind of leaning on the team and leaning on my support network. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. Yay. Any other questions? I don't know how long you guys normally stay on.
Hey, Katie, I have a question for you. Because I think there's a lot of coaches on this call that I think can relate to this, but what are some of your best like recruiting strategies for new coaches that want to like run the business with you?
So, I mean, that's like such a $1 million question right there, because there's constant talk about it. But, you know, I am passionate about the business more than fitness. I will never be a fitness instructor. So for 2 years, probably, I would say there's like 3 main ways that I recruit. Number one would be through fitness. So making a challenge group post and just simply asking people, do you want to sign up as a customer or do you want to do what I do? I did, and sign up as like a preferred customer. And, you know, you hope that they have results with the program, become evangelical about it, or want to start sharing it. The second is lifestyle post. So sharing, even if it's not where you are now, like maybe you're not in the situation that you want to be in financially. What I did was I shared where I was going with it, what I was doing with this opportunity, and I had enough passion and people had enough faith in me that they joined for that reason. And then the third way would be to just straight up talk about the business. And you will attract those business people, you know, if you're talking about the financial opportunity and you're talking about kind of what, you know, that kind of interplays with lifestyle. Here's what I have found though. If you talk about, and I think that there's a place for all 3 of those in the business, 100%. But when I was primarily talking about the business, which is what I was passionate about, I was attracting these people who never quite got it. They never quite clicked with Beachbody community and the mission. And as much as they would say that they did, and as much as they, said that they wanted to, it was just lacking. Like there's just some level of disconnect. And eventually those people end up, some of them are still around, but most of those people ended up just kind of fizzling out. But when you have somebody, like I think about my story, I'm obsessed with Beachbody because it literally changed my life physically first. And then all the other stuff came from that. So I do think that when you're trying to recruit people who are just like you and excited about the business and ready to push forward, it has to start with that foundation of using the products and having a physical transformation. And that doesn't necessarily mean weight loss. That could mean just like a health transformation or feeling better or gaining muscle, or, everyone's a little bit different. But I do feel very strongly that there's a reason Beachbody is different from Mary Kay and New Skin and all these other companies, and I think there's probably some really great essential oil companies and great skincare companies, but there is just something about health and fitness where you can literally change someone's life, and it's so much more meaningful than, oh, you have less wrinkles, which would be awesome as well. But for me, it's like, we're not selling Tupperware. We're literally helping somebody live a longer, healthier, more confident life. And those coaches, those are my lifers. Those are my ride and die. Like they're not going anywhere. They are doing what it takes. So, that kind of goes, and I hate to make it so simplistic, but it kind of goes back to leading the way, showing what you're doing, and then helping those people legit. Like, when is the last time you can say that you helped somebody complete 30 days of a program? You walked them through the nutrition, you actually were their cheerleader, their accountability partner, and you helped somebody get results. And that's something I constantly have to check myself on, just because I've been doing this for so long. Sometimes you get lazy, or you get like, oh, whatever, they'll figure it out, or, they're fine. Because I started P90X before I had a coach, so I had to figure it out on my own. So sometimes I do get that mentality of like, oh, they're fine. But then when I actually take the time to talk to them and put them in a spreadsheet and make sure they send me their pictures every week, then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm being a coach. Like, be a good coach and you will get good coaches. I hope that helps.
No, I love that quote. You said, be a good coach and you'll get good coaches. Like, I love that. I mean, just obviously. Yeah. My God. No, but thank you so much. That was really awesome. I love those tips.
Oh, good. And I think, I would love to say, oh, do it this month and you'll have this many results. And sometimes, yes, you do things, you implement things, and you have results right away. But my big thing that I want everyone to take away is like, it's the end game. Have that, like, where am I going to be a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? What am I creating now that's going to make my business so smooth? And in the meantime, I'm constantly learning. Things are constantly changing. So you have that, to contend with as well. But I think the coaches that are so successful are the ones that keep their passion in front of them and then think about, hey, this might not give you results today, but I'm going to do something that's going to make my life a heck of a lot easier down the road. Plus, like, the other thing with the blog, or YouTube or whatever you guys do, is one of the coolest things you'll start to see is people get to know you before you even have first contact with them. So I know I keep saying my blog, but that's like what I use. So I will have people that find it, stumble upon it, will follow it. Then they'll find me on social media, follow me on Facebook, and then 7 months down the road will message me. And it's the craziest thing. And it's so funny because they're like, oh, well, remember that time you went to California or you did this? And meanwhile, it's like the first time you're talking to them. So it's kind of funny, but it is so cool because then half the conversation is already taken care of. They already know you and trust you and like you. And now all you have to do is find a solution for them that makes sense and seal the deal. And that's it. So that's my favorite thing, because then you're already building relationships. And Shalene Johnson does it all the time with 30-day push. I don't know if you guys have done that yet, but she's literally created 30 days of videos to help you be more organized and more effective. And you feel like you know her, you feel like she's your friend, but meanwhile, she's able to help thousands and thousands of people through her YouTube videos. So I just think it's brilliant.
You guys can totally do that with Facebook Live. I think that that's the beauty of it, being your honest self. You don't have to go create a blog tomorrow because it works for Katie. I think that's always the good point.
Yes. And Facebook Live is so hot right now. Like, I mean, Facebook is really promoting it. So that's what's going out there. Like, that's what they want people to see. So anytime you do a video, and actually I was thinking about this the other day with Facebook Live, like just posting things that might not necessarily be related to fitness, but just something that you're an expert in. So a video that I'm going to do, and you're welcome to steal this idea, it's like if people trust you and know that you're an expert in one thing, they trust you in other areas as well. So what I'm partially an expert in is just stuff with my dogs. So I'm going to make a video talking about the things that you can do if you have a really like hyper dog or a dog that needs mentally stimulated, and like different ways that you can keep them entertained without them destroying your house. And then the other one I'm doing is how to create chalkboard art even if you have terrible handwriting. So even though they have nothing to do with fitness, it's like that's something that people can see and they're like, oh, I like that. And like, what are these other things that she's doing? And it might not get you a sale in November, but that's just another thing that's going to help you eventually build those relationships and connect with your audience. And guys can do it too, with whatever guy stuff guys talk about. Guns and sports and etc.
York's used to being the only guy on here.
Oh my gosh, I feel so bad sometimes because it's like a lot of the team names are like girl names. It's like, testosterone.
Do you guys have any more final questions for Katie? Take one more. Shannon's got one.
Awesome. Okay, is there anything you always include in your challenge groups that you find helps people see results and stay engaged? I think anything that I do is always based on what I personally react well to, because I know that my customers are probably like me if they want me to coach them. So one thing that I implement in my groups is they actually have to send me a weekly mirror selfie. So literally just standing in their bathroom mirror or a full-length mirror, they snap a picture and it could be a sports bra and shorts or a bikini or whatever that looks like. But I find that having that accountability, it's not about the week-to-week results for them. It's not about, oh, let's see what changes. It really is that being that, angel on their shoulder, that when they want to eat cake, they're like, oh no, I have to take my mirror selfie on Sunday and I don't want it to be all bloated and yucky and not showing any results. So that's probably the best thing I've implemented in my groups. But again, like your people might be different. So I don't know if that would work for everyone, but challenge groups are so much trial and error in figuring out. And then the last thing I would say, like the absolute must of whether my groups are successful or not, is whether or not I'm posting my workouts. Like they literally can tell if you are doing it. If you're not doing it, even if you're posting like workout pictures, but they're like old, like they know. So I find that when I'm completely in it and then I'll post my pictures too, that it's so much fun and so much engagement. And yeah, people fall off here and there, but those are my best groups.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katie. I know this was super helpful and we're happy to have some fire and we just appreciate it so much. And I appreciate it so much because I know this is a hard time of year and I appreciate you taking the time out.
Of course. Well, I hope everyone has a magical holiday season. Happy Thanksgiving.
Can we take a selfie picture first before you go? All right. Everybody's got to get ready to smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks everyone
Katie.
for staying on. See you guys later.
See ya.